Let's start with that beautiful.
Nice.
Welcome back, everybody. Another week, another pivot point at HQ. As many of you have probably noticed, Google has made some announcements from Google Marketing Live. And today we're going to dive into it with Rachna, my strategist, and myself. And we're going to see what it's the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, what are the things you want to test? What are the things we have to take care of? What are the things we have to watch out for in the new age of traffic and attribution? So how are you doing, Rachna? You excited for this
Doing
for today?
great. I'm excited.
Oh,
I'm going to roast a bit of what Google said on the big event
as we
and
do.
what it actually means. So we
Oh,
revealed the truth behind all the shiny objects.
yeah. It's every year. It's every year. You know, the hype is real. A lot of these things sound really great. A lot of these things look like that's the thing I need. And then you're a year ahead and you look back and you're like, well, it was okay. It wasn't that great. So I'm curious to see what we're going to play with today. So let's start off, shall we? So yeah, we're going to start off with what we call the agentic engine. This is all based on what Google has announced at Google Marketing Live. And we basically push them back into the 10 laws of the new marketing physics. This is kind of like where it's heading towards outside of what Google has told. This is really where we're at and where the whole ecosystem is starting to shift. So the agentic engine is the real thing. You want to start this off?
I think it's already way too late for people to be adapting to the new digital, like the AI era. As we have been, I think we've been into the transition phase of all the things when we had stand shopping, then smart shopping, and then PMax. All that was anyway AI powered. But then it's incorporating with the LLM models and all. It's already, the death was already done. It's like now the final reveal has come with Gemini. The There's still a lot of advertisers focused on keywords, phrase match, exact match. That doesn't exist, so it's already gone. Last click attribution is gone, though people do look at analytics. That is also last click. And manual campaign tweaking is more like, oh, let's test the RSA against another RSA. It does not matter. Like, I've never found RSA to be a true test for headlines. Each headlines never get equal opportunity, and it would never get equal opportunity. So it's never a true test or which headline works the best. You just give AI a direction and picks for you. So all of that it's gone now. Now the agentic reality is that you don't even give ads anymore. You don't give headlines, you don't give description, you just give your website. And if you have your website properly optimized with proper metadata and a lot of content around these queries that people are asking on the AI chats, it just creates an ad which is more relevant to that particular query. So it's a death and a birth to a new era, which I find even much better, honestly, because I love when AI takes over to things that I would waste my time. I would rather look into things which just make needs my attention. um so yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
I think the keyword obsession. I personally also have said multiple times in the last years, like it's only going to take a couple of years until keywords are completely dissolved. The only industry where I can see keywords still being relevant is lead gen, because lead
mm,
gen doesn't require a whole lot of different touch points to convert. It's typically you search something and it's a very low barrier entry. So the lead gen industry will still, you can still get away with a lot of what the legacy models, how it was, the legacy playbook, really.
mm,
There's not a lot of attribution needed there. But yeah, if you're in e-commerce, then definitely that is all, fading away rather quickly. And especially with models, Claude, GPT, Gemini. Every week, I mean, it's so exponentially getting faster and quicker that, yeah, for sure. What they also said about Google search becomes now AI search, and I think
Yeah.
fair that's a fair positioning to be at, and it's also so much easier. I mean, a lot of people already. Funny thing is, just come across for me is if you search for something, I actually went formally to Claude or GPT to just like get into detail of things, but I never went to Google and search in that same way because the search
Mm.
bar was still legacy wise. But now that if they truly swap the search bar over to an AI mode instantly, you will chat in the same way with Google as you will with ChatGPT and Claude. So now it becomes more native to search in that
Yeah.
way. And I think that's gonna have a lot more valuable data, as in long-term queries, because people voice that out rather than typing it out.
Yeah. Behavior would change, placements would change, what they are expecting as a prompt after they do the prompt is going to change. Everything is going to change, and the strategy also has to be adapted accordingly. Like on this one, like if you look at, like we used to have like these keywords, I'm looking for a shoe, or it was like like a keyword. Now it's like a conversation going on. I have a sports event and I want to dress up and I'm not sure what do I want to wear, like do you have any suggestions for me? And there's a conversation, and it should be relevant because Google wants to stay relevant. And if you as a business are providing that support to Google to stay relevant, then only it will show the ads, or not, otherwise it will not.
Yeah.
And which is where data coming from Google, from your website, plays so much important role in creating those ads.
Yeah, I think that's the essence, because if you look at how Google started, and I was with Google, I started somewhere back in 2011, and it was always all about relevancy, right? The reason why they had a quality score for keywords was to give you a discount on your CPC if you worked with the machine and stayed as relevant as possible,
Hmm.
because Google wants to show the most relevant result to their users. Now, if AI jumps into this game, and indeed, what they say at the top, ads as answers. In AI mode, ads are reinvented. So it's not just to interrupt, but they respond to conversational complex queries. The biggest thing is if people type in Google, the vast majority of people, and we're talking 80, 85%, will type in one or two words. But now that it becomes conversational with AI, the queries becomes much longer. And the moment the queries get longer, you get more data about what are they looking for, why are they looking for this, and when do they need it. So you get a lot more data points that you can work with in AI to filter out the most qualified merchant or party for that
Yeah,
request. I think that's going to be very interesting to see if that develops in that same route.
exactly.
So yeah, that was one of the biggest things, is like search becoming the AI assistant. So I guess that's what we feel, and that's I'm excited to see what it's going to be like. And then this is the other big thing: consumer decisions decentralizing. On the
This
left,
one is still an illusion everywhere. Like people
yes,
still think like, oh, I can just scale with Google, which is where I'm glad that Google actually brought this up. It was high time. Like, please accept this. You are not the entire funnel.
yeah. Although they did say that they were with a lot, they said you only need YouTube and Google for 89% of the buyers. They actually say they haven't touched any other social network, just Google and YouTube. I don't buy it, because we have seen many, many brands, and it's never like that. It is mostly Meta and Google. YouTube comes
Yeah.
into the equation maybe when you're in your, let's say your brand doing probably between 50 and 70 mil a year. Around there is the sequence when YouTube comes in. Except if you truly sell a solution to a problem, or you're in the health or supplement space, then YouTube can become very interesting very quickly. But in most cases, with YouTube, for example, aspiration or lifestyle, it's just not the same way. So yeah, on the left we see the illusion. That's the old model. It doesn't work anymore. People are getting People are getting smarter. They know how to research a party. People don't buy as quickly anymore. So there's a lot more touch points and a lot more, surfing around. And especially with I did it today. My TV broke down and I need this different this Samsung Connect box. And I had to find it. It was a bit of a hassle with all these codes, but I used the AI mode and then also asked for like, okay, what is the right code for me? What do I need to pay attention to? And then the parties that showed up, I asked them, like, okay, what are the reviews on this? You have this one prompt that follows up with other prompts to ultimately narrow down the funnel to the right ones. So the structure is the same, but the reality of how that works inside of this mechanism is just different. So there's multiple touch points, but it just takes it from all different points in the web, and that's the reality. The 70% on the right side here, and I think that's the new reality that we have to upend it.
This one, nobody can make it perfect. Even Google doesn't have the visibility unless they are spying on us, like through hidden cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, he clicked on Amazon and then went there. Then probably yes. Obviously, they can't do that.
We all know they secretly listen to us, and that's just what they do. So we just like don't do it too often. But I think the most important part, and I think this is exactly what we talk about every week, is actually the thing on the right side, because so many brands are still using attribution, taking the in-platform as truth, taking third-party attribution as truth, and they follow that, and still the bank account is shrinking. So in that sense, we're already that step ahead of looking at, how would you figure out how this new customer journey runs, and what do you do? I think, well, if you're interested in that, we have other episodes from the last week where we dive more into this, but this is becoming even more important now. Like how to find where to spend your money and what's your engine versus what's your follower. That's going to be the new game.
And it's also very weird that whenever they are referring to customers, they never mention new customers. It's always customers, like
it's conversions.
Right.
It's just conversions, even, right? They just talk about conversions. They don't talk about anything else. Yeah.
And when they say 89% of the customers, sure, my returning will engage with you, Google.
Exactly. That's the part they don't say. Like, there's always this caveat. Also, like, I wrote this down because this quote was brilliant at the end. Google said this. They looked into the camera and real seriously said, our Gemini advantage is your business advantage. I'm like, oh, you're so selfless. You created something for free that we can use for free. And now we can just use that. And thank you, humble Google. No, they have to make money. And we all know where that wasted ad spend is coming from. So, that has been the case year after year after year. It sounds good. And definitely AI definitely helps, but we have to be healthy, skeptical at the same time to what it actually does.
Yeah. And it's also Google has these minions sent to your inbox, like called the reps who would be like pushing you to, enable AI Max. And there is situations like so many times I've just had conversation with them and I've asked them, like, all of a sudden the ROAS has dropped and the only suggestion they could come up with is like turn on AI Max. I'm like,
and that people because that's
like my bank account is suffering, turn on AI Max.
Yeah,
I have a headache.
I think the reps in general, I mean, they had the reps had a bad rep, but nowadays, like how aggressively they've been on certain emails and just poking with everybody in CC and just 3 times a day getting these emails, it's get a bit out of control, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, seriously.
Yeah. So, instead of just channel bidding or you do what you want, it's more journey aware bidding now. So you want to optimize across the entire path to purchase, not just the last click. Now, that has been already the case in the last years, but with agentic AI and the AI era where we're in, this becomes even more important. We cannot look at that last click, because if people do touch points with AI in conversation, seeing a YouTube vid, going to Meta, going on Reddit for deep research, and then ultimately they go for a branded search, and you see that as a last click. Yeah, you lost the entire story. You don't have the story. So that's by any default. If you're doing that, please don't. That's not going to go well for your business.
And to facilitate that, when you're starting somebody's journey, that does not mean that they will start their journey from YouTube ad, or they will start their journey with standard shopping ad or like a search ad. It could be just they're having a conversation in the AI mode and they've asked a very simple question where they're not aware of the problem. And that's where you just get them to your website, to a blog post, maybe, and you answer that question. For example, I saw that was the one of the examples on the marketing live is like, I have a new home and I want my home to smell like a spa, like I'm at a spa. Who would have thought that that's a query that can have somebody buy a diffuser? So if you are a business that sell diffuser, does your blog post or your website answer that query? If does not, then Google, you're not eligible. First of all, your business is not eligible to
Yeah,
show on the AI overview. So
that's
you're out of
perfect.
the gate. But if
Yeah,
your competitor has a
yeah.
query that answers that question, you just lost that customer.
And again, like I've always thought of a business like this. If you start something, you validate an offer, you have something that works, okay, now you scale. Most people just, oh, in that moment, once the validation is done, they just go like, okay, run. I've always considered like at any point in time, you want to stay in contact with your customers because they have so much more value to add. They have the questions, they have the objections, they have so much more for your business to improve and innovate. But now you can use all that feedback inside of
Yeah.
blog posts and FAQs so that Google can crawl it and can come up with these answers to questions. As in, AI mode is nothing else than the answers to the questions. So you should think more answer first rather than sales pitch first, because that's just how like nobody wants to be sold to. Everybody wants something that
Yeah.
they feel I need, right? So that becomes much more prevalent. So, and then, this was one of the things that I found really, really cool of Google, that they created the Universal Commerce Protocol, which is, I had to ask the AI to explain it to me in plain English, because I was like, okay, how did it work? But ultimately, you don't need the website anymore. You can just straight up buy it through Gemini or through the Google AI search. If you search for something, you have the whole conversation inside that prompting window. And ultimately, you found your product, you can buy it straight up there. You don't have to go to the website of a specific merchant. And they created this particular language in combination with Shopify and others, so that there's one code for everybody instead of all these different codings for Magento and for Shopify and all these different merchant types. So I think that's going to be very cool. And then you can add, your feed into here, making sure you have all your live data, because it relies on live feedback. So, do you have this item in stock? Because if we're thinking in relevance, if you don't have updated stock or it's not real time, Google cannot trust you because it's not 100% relevant. They cannot guarantee it. And then you will rank lower, for example. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it's going to be imported into YouTube, as in Maps, as in everywhere on search. And there's some conditions to how to use this and when to use this. But it seems like a very interesting case.
It's like Amazon. Like, for example, the same query, like, how can I make my new house smell like spa? I would buy candles and I would buy a diffuser and I don't know, what is that thing that you like just hit and then makes that vibrating sound? I'm just giving you an example. Like, I want to buy all of these things and I have one payment method, which is GPay. Why can I or not like add all of these items from different e-com websites and just do one transaction? Like, that
Yeah,
would be so convenient.
that makes sense. Yeah, it's becoming, and I think that's also what they want, right? They would rather have everybody buy straight from Google and click through on the site if they can take a margin. Right now, it's free, but ultimately they want to become that big competitor to Amazon. And exactly, they pointed out you have to do with GPay. So I'm like, okay, what if you don't have GPay? That's the thing. That's where they lure you in. You have to have the GPay. Okay,
Hmm.
how many users have that? But the experience, if the experience really is good from what I'm searching for, and ultimately I get this thing and I don't have to go to the website, it might be worth it. But yeah, I guess we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. Businesses that are really heavy on Amazon, it's a very good alternative for their business to test this one, because they can save on margin. Also, because first party data is so important, you have to give an easy way for an alternative. If not
Yeah.
this, let me simplify it further for you to buy from my website, because
Mm.
usually people just go buy from Amazon. So this is an easy way, and if somebody is skeptical, they should not be. They should test it.
That's actually true. Yeah, they removed the biggest friction point, which is the click through to the website, and then they have to click through there. And we all know with zero, the more people have to click, every click extra to get to the end destination is killing off conversion rate. So yeah, I can see where this the ultimate world where they wanted to be in, but they didn't have the capacity or the power before. Now it seems like they can. So yeah, curious to see how that will play out. Oh yeah, this was also fun. You can. This was your favorite, so you can take it.
This one is basically, I love the golden rule. Like in the end, so basically earlier it was Google. The Google trap was like, if you just bid more, you get the highest position and you win. But AI is like, are people talking about you? Is there credibility? What you claim, is it even true? Then only you are eligible to show in the AI mode. And that's the most important. The golden rule says if your brand is not part of the cross platform validation network, you do not exist in the AI decision making process. And I love this so much because
Mhm.
as a user, I would want that. Like
Yeah,
if you are non-existent, nobody's talking about you, or if some people are talking about shit about your product, I don't
exactly.
want to buy.
Well, we have a couple of brands, you know which one we're talking about. They are, if they're not going to change, they're definitely going to die out because they are doing one thing only. The only thing that they have is a couple of Google reviews, but for the rest, it feels like you're a ghost online, right? And it's going back to the drop shipping era where you did some research. If you can't find research reviews on somebody, you feel like I'm not sure. But now there's so much more. You have the Reddit threads, you have the PR citations. So there's a lot more involved that it takes in. And if you're not moving with that steam, it doesn't mean that if you're a 6, 7, or 8 business that you have to do everything all at once. But it does give you leverage as to how can you make some, well, I would say cutting corners necessarily, but you want to play the AI game rather than, doing things for the sake of doing things.
Yeah,
This will
exactly.
help. Yeah.
This is the opposite of it is also like, even if you have a very good product, but you are not engaging with the people on the internet, you are not communicating in or present on the citations like all the other third party, what's that, Trustpilot and all of that,
Mm.
not keeping it up to date, not having your Google reviews constantly getting updated, then you will suffer despite if your product is really good. So it applies to both the sides of the business, because AI is more like, how does AI think the right answer to the question is? Okay, most of the people say this is right, so it must be right. Right? It doesn't have its own brain yet.
True.
Like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
they could be wrong. So, and that if the people are talking about Apple is the best, then they would buy Apple,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's just
that's why it's so
perceived.
important.
They're suggestible to the information. There's also perceiving that. And if they, yeah, the important part is the AI is doing nothing else than gathering that information in real time, real quick, and then put its own language on top of that. But, if you're out there and you're saying what it is and people are preaching your services or your products, that will show up.
Yeah,
And that's where you want
exactly.
to win.
And I would really like those businesses to die off and AI not to show, because if your product sucks, then you should not be advertising to begin with.
Mm.
Like, I don't really like at all to be working for a brand or pushing a product that is just useless, just because you want to make money out of it, fool people. Just,
Yeah,
I love this one update is my favorite one, because
I
at
think
the
I
same
think
time I'm also a consumer. Like, we both are a consumer.
Yeah, and I think I've seen this many times, right? Back in the early, let's say the COVID time, when a lot of people jumped on the online marketing game and also started doing drop shipping, Google had a hard time keeping up with all these merchant centers. And also, a lot of them have been banned because they were misrepresenting something or they shady products, bad customer service. They really had a rough time. And what we saw here is exactly that in the AI time makes it much easier for them to say, hey, how is your quality score, and why is there no information, or why is there only bad information? It connects the dots, and basically, as Google's all about relevance, I can see how there's still like a quality score underneath this all, because they
Mm.
will be able to crawl so much more data on you. So if you're doing an exceptional good job, you want to do the best for your customers, as you should, it will show up. And if you're, doing a terrible job, it will also show up. But you'll have some issues down the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then AI creative generation, that was also a big one. You want to go ahead?
It's more like, it's again, it's something not very new. It has been there initially when we had
Yeah.
PMax. It started creating its own videos. At that time, it sucked. It was the
It was
worst AI videos.
terrible.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
Now it has gotten actually really good. Like, I think one of our clients had a Mother's Day sale and they could not deliver the creatives on time, and the Google AI did such a great job in creating those creatives.
Yeah.
Like, you can just quickly go live with that if you have your brand guidelines. So it has definitely improved a lot. And then you can get all of this data and reiterate on what AI is telling you that is working the best, right? So if you have organic shots, like 10 shots, and organically these many are pushing, and then out of that, these ads are pushing, and then those ads, you can recreate them in your asset studio, and that would
Yeah.
help so much in moving fast.
Yeah, I've been playing around in the last couple of years because they had this thing in Merchant Center, I think Product Studio, where you could make a bit of a background. And for a couple of clients, I tested with it, but it was not really that great. That you think, oh, I'm gonna mass implement this across the clients. But now with they have Gemini and VO and Nano Banana Pro and all that stuff in there, it becomes much more interesting. You can literally create anything, and it looks like a pro created it, so it becomes much more tangible. And exactly, I think that the biggest thing for brands is like, if I can put my brand guidelines in there, and I tell
Mm.
them exactly, because you have, like, for example, jewelry, you have a certain positioning, so you want to make sure that your backgrounds or the people represent the people you want to sell to, and the backgrounds that fit within that, right? So now you can create all that. You don't have to make a set dressing and hire the actors, and it becomes much more easier. Probably
Yeah.
detrimental to the modeling industry and others and actors, but hey, now you can do it all from your home, from your laptop. But it also means that everybody now has the same tools, so the playing field is getting very much equal. So curious to see how that will
Yeah.
develop with this.
If one thing
Um,
gets easier, then there is another door of complexity that opens up, and which is where your answer, like the engine, what was it called? Answer generative engine, AGE.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that one is now where you have to invest. The first one who invests into it and takes advantage of it wins. When you said no, the playing fields are getting equal for everyone, then that's where some people just sit back, like, oh, what are we going to do? Show me the RSA ad. Where what headlines do you have? And they don't listen. Um and yeah, so it doesn't get easy. It just have difficult difficulties with something else, and who adapts early wins.
Yeah. And AI can only do so much what has already been created in the market. It has learned, and that's the thing. If you understand how it works with all Google, Meta, or whatever, understand the algorithms, understand how it's built, then understanding what it
Yeah.
can do and cannot do becomes so much more easier. Because the thing with AI as well, it has learned from everything that exists. But if we all follow that, nothing new will ever come out of it, right? There's no innovation. So until we have super intelligence, some people say next year, whatever that means, but um, I think that's going to be very important. So there will still be room left for truly creative thinkers, because otherwise everything becomes just AI slop as a ripoff from something else. But until that point, I think we have something to play with that could be very interesting. Yeah, YouTube,
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts, demand gen.
Google is pushing YouTube hard. Like, it's
Yes.
now the best thing that a business can do is grow organic YouTube, collaborate with the YouTube creators, create YouTube shorts, and those shorts are actually showing up in the AI mode as an answer to the query that the user is typing in. So,
Mhm.
for example, if the same query is, I have a new house and I wanted to smell like in spa, then there is a short like, here's the 5 things that you need to do to make your house smell like spa. 1, 2, 3, 4, and under that are your products. It is so easy. Like, it doesn't seem pushy. It answers the question, and you also sell. It's an ad. Works
Yeah, it's not
best.
salesy. It's not salesy
It
at all.
is
It feels more like, oh, assistance. Yeah.
exactly. But then on the same time, if you were like, oh, I want my house. Oh, by the way, here is an essential oil, and like shopping at, like, it doesn't want that. So you need to optimize, understand the behavior, and which is where YouTube Shorts have become so much important now, because then demand gen makes sure that you push those ads when AI is pushing your YouTube Shorts, and you can go back and retarget that audience organically if your YouTube Shorts are also showing up. That's such a first good touch point that starts for free.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, even Google has said it, like, you need to create YouTube Shorts because they're going heavy on it.
Yeah, and I think like you said, from an organic perspective, it makes sense if you can answer certain questions so that Google crawls things and uses your short to explain it and then links it below. That's fun. And ad wise, majority of people hate ads on YouTube in particular, because the thing is, like, on Meta it disrupts your scrolling, but on YouTube it disrupts the video that you actually want to watch. And so most people are like, oh shit. But most people also refuse to take a premium subscription on that. But I think what this will do for ads, and I think the creator element here, like influencers help. I think they had statistics on the fact that if you're using YouTube creators with your brand, they are like 13 times more likely to search and 5 times more likely to buy from you. But it makes sense because you have a person that you follow, you trust, that is now endorsing this brand or this product. And through him or her doing that, you're more likely to look positively towards a certain brand. That will always make sense. And if then you show below the actual YouTube video those products, yeah, now you can have the whole ecosystem in one without actually having to potentially move to the website. And I think
Yeah,
that's really cool. So
that is so convenient.
yeah. But they're also talking about the engagement. They're talking about attribution. They say the click is not the way to look at it from videos. And I think, well, we struggle with that a little bit because we've seen historically that if you only follow impressions or engage views with YouTube, it's not gonna pan out very well. You have to look for that click. If YouTube make clicks to your website and it's not returning traffic, now you have something you can actually scale. If that doesn't happen, you can pour endless money in that boat and it just keeps on floating, but you're gonna leak all the money. And I think Google was heavily on board with like, hey, the engaged view is such an important metric because it means that somebody chose to watch at least 5 seconds of your video. But after 5 seconds, you can click the video away. So it's still very hard to see what they actually engaged with. So
Yeah.
I still think clicks are very important for video. If it's direct response, if it's brand awareness, outbound, then something different.
Yeah, all of this is like the tip of the iceberg, but there's so much that goes below that huge thing hiding under the water. The
Yeah.
complexity of measurement and like what Google says and what it actually means, and how does that affect your money in the bank. And so Google only, like, you remember, like one of our clients was like, oh, look at the revenue growing, but they never mentioned because the AOV had increased. That's why the revenue increased. And it was so silly
Yeah.
of the rep. And the rep keeps on going like, we are the best. We come from the highest of the departments of the reps. Like, it's like that means
I
literally
mean,
nothing.
if you have a company that is incentive, that their only goal is to make you spend more, you just have to have people in there that make you spend more money. That's it. You don't need them to understand the business metrics and how to connect business health with platform health to, show actual profitability. You don't have to do that. It's an
Yeah.
easier job.
That's
In that
why I
way.
take this with like the grain of salt, like, because this means nothing at all. And it
Yeah.
gives you a direction. It doesn't lay out the whole path for you.
Yeah.
And then obviously, unless you don't test, you never know what works for you. But
Yeah.
then with like all of this is education. Who the knowledge comes from people who have worked with like multiple brands, and I've seen things grow. For example, like a few brands do not need to do YouTube shorts because their customer behavior has nothing, or they don't even have a touch point at YouTube. It comes from Amazon, right?
Yep.
So whatever Google says, like we saw 35% increase in conversions and blah blah blah, that does not align with you. So it's also that shiny object that you talk about, that
Yeah.
sometimes people see the shiny object, and that's where they need to consult with somebody who knows what really means.
Yeah, and there are not many of them because this game gets harder and harder. We started with manual bidding back in the days in 2019. You could whip up a Facebook ad, even if you're a shitty offer, shitty website, you would still sell. It doesn't matter. Now, then with the whole iOS 14, tracking became worse, attribution got worse. Now we're at a point where you cannot get away with the first, not with the second of attribution. Now you have to understand the actual business to get away with, like, how can we craft a strategy with multi-channel that actually works without wasting too much ad spend in between. That's the new game, because all the wasted ad spend
Yeah.
is in between the channels. And like you said, right, it's a grain of salt. Like, they have their own ecosystem where they're measuring stuff in. They are not measuring stuff that happens on Meta side. And so yeah.
Also, they have their own stakeholders to answer to.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah.
Not the stakeholders for the brands that advertise
No.
on it. They
No.
have their own stakeholders to answer
Yeah.
to.
How did Alphabet and Google do? Well, pretty good. We launched PMax and everybody fell for it.
We fooled everyone.
Yeah, every single time. And that's the thing, right? If you've been in this game, is particular with Google, for so long, they launch something new, is already hype, but at the back end, we've seen this so many times. I'm going to test it, but I'm also have my healthy skepticism because I've seen this so many times,
Yeah.
right? And that's just it.
PMax was one of the biggest scam ever laid out. First 6 months, every business had heard of it. So the marketing was brilliant by Google on
Absolutely.
PMax. So everybody opted in. It was like a black box. It is still like a black box, but there was no reporting. There was literally, where's the money
Yes.
going? Nobody knew where the money
True.
is invested, until that business owner realized, like, my bank account is going to the ground, like it's just crashing. What is happening? Oh, your Google agency, by the way, switched all of the spam shopping events to PMax.
It's crazy that you think of it. At least the first 6 months or even longer, there was zero reporting on that thing.
Yeah.
Zero. There was nothing. We couldn't see anything. And then now they have like all these channel insights. You're like, oh, let's pull back. This is not going to go well. We also figured out a lot of PMax is doing heavily retargeting because
Yeah.
the benchmark for new visitor percentage is super low. So yeah, in all ways, shapes, and forms, we use it for retargeting, and that's about it with PMax. We don't use it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Some of the
that's
accounts, we've also seen that Standard Shopping does about like 80 to 90% of new customer acquisition, and the
yeah,
PMax is only 10%,
it's
and
crazy.
it's 90% returning engaging.
Yeah. And then people are like, yeah, no, I don't need to worry. I just look at my in platform. Go ahead. You're 90% of that budget we could use for new customers, but you're wasting it on non-incremental clicks on people that already bought from you. That's not,
Yeah.
or people that have saw your meta ad, don't need that Google ad to actually convert. Yeah, it's fun.
That's where the ROAS, PMax ROAS was so good, right? Everybody loved it. Agencies were
Yeah,
like, going crazy about look at the ROAS we've given you. And
yeah,
Standard Shopping sucked. Nobody really
yeah,
knew like what was actually going behind the scenes.
yeah. Until some people figured out that
Yeah.
there inside the algorithm there was built in that it would always go a certain percentage of your budget would always go at returning customers and warm traffic. So the resulting platform looked really good, so you would spend more money. Again, the incentive for Google is that you spend more money. And so for
Google
your
actually hears all of that. Like, oh, there's no new customer acquisition happening. Here's a toy. It's called new customer acquisition setting. Turn it on. But
I
I'm
mean
not
they
going to tell you if it's really a
no.
new customer or not.
No, of course not. They don't want you to know. And also they will never ever be able to figure out if that click that came from because they say, hey, we have a new customer on Google. And how do you know? Well, because you excluded your list and now we know this new customer. How did you know that click didn't came from Meta in the first place? You don't know. No, exactly. Google doesn't know. And that's why you still, you need something else to check that. You cannot trust the casino to make you gamble for a night and actually win. That doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So we're at point 8. Ads are becoming business e-commerce agents. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like, when you have different touch points into a funnel, like for how a salesperson does it. Like, oh, you're looking for, let me solve a problem for you. And then let me get you started with a free subscription. Let me give you a sample. Let me give you the first purchase for free. Or, now you're ready to buy. Okay, let's do a first sale for you. Oh, you've been a very good customer. I want you to come back. Here's a $10 bonus for you. Oh, you've been customer for like 2 years. Here's like a free gift from our side. That's what a salesperson does at a business, right? And
Yeah.
that's what these AI agents are also doing for, like, because your AI mode is basically engaging a person from the start and to the end also. So it knows like what's the likelihood of a person who's starting from a first touch point to convert into a customer, or a customer who already bought from you and is more likely to convert again for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are behaving like an agent, like a sales agent, I would say, and then they personalize depending on at which point, touch point of that journey are they are on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we're going to head to a world where, we're using PMax or AI Max, and then you just have to set your ROAS target. And, these e-commerce agents goes out and hunt for you and just say, at the end of the day, we use these amount of agents to get these and these back, but it won't tell you returning a new likely. I mean, there's a chance it will tell you that, but that's still going to be in platform. So the
Yeah.
true incrementality and how much your ad spend is wasted, you won't figure that out from Google. You have to have different methods and compare the business metrics to see that. But this is going to be very interesting to watch how that's going to play out. And when it does recognize somebody's an old customer, and is he do we need some retention strategies in here, or what do we need, right? And I think I'm curious to see how much levers we can pull in that. Like what are the guidelines that we can do? It sounds very interesting, but we need to see some more details on that.
It's a very simple thing, like what you mentioned, that Google would never tell you that. It is a piece of information, just if you logically try and think about it, that if, let's say, that you spend your 50% of the ad budget on Google, and you acquire only 10% of new customers from Google, and somehow, let's say, Google also connect Shopify, what Google is sort of is telling you is that 50% of the budget you only acquire 10% of new customers. What information do you take away from that? Google sucks and you turn off all your ads. Google will
Yeah.
never want to do that.
Uh,
Google will never, like half of the
no.
businesses will turn off their campaigns.
Yeah.
So even if there is a way that Google can facilitate, it will not facilitate.
No, it will not. It simply has the incentive of the stakeholders to, as you mentioned, the stakeholders important, so they won't do that. That's why the industry craft experts to sniff out all the BS and wasted ad spend and show you what the truth is of this. And I think it's fair. It's fair game. It's all marketing. They do their best. They hype people up, and it's a business that needs to run. But we're also a little bit about honesty and integrity, and doing the best
Yeah.
for our clients. And so that's the way we run it. And yeah, first party data has always been in the last years so important, but becoming even more important.
Yeah, something that I really want to test with first party data is like, how can I have the offline conversion tracking set back? Like it doesn't have it yet. We use Plot Out to ensure that the campaigns go after new customers. But Blot Out still need to figure a few things out, like how can I find new customers that have a certain AOV, right?
Yeah,
Which they
yeah,
don't facilitate. Like they need to level up their game because Google is definitely doing that.
yeah,
They do not do, I don't know if they do it like for a certain product. If I have a new customer, like if I sell 10 things and two of the products sell the best with new customer acquisition, I would only want to know like how many new customers did I acquire with that A product, so I can optimize for that. Like things like that needs to be facilitated, and that's where your first party data is going to be really important, coming from like you need to have as much of as that possible so that you can put that back into
yeah.
Google Ads and optimize for that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you put your budget in a black box, then make sure you put the highest quality and context data in there so that the black box can actually work for you. Because anything with AI, and I think everybody knows this, but your input equals your output. What you put in is what you put out. The quality of your questions decide the quality of your answer. So it's the same with this. What are you going to put in the box to get ultimately that out? And yeah, like you said, we figured out a long time ago where, oh, Google's algorithm, if we benchmark that, the campaigns, we see that PMax is actually going so much after warm. Okay, shopping has a higher chance. Now we're using other tools like Bloodout to direct the algorithm in a different direction to go after net new traffic, because that's really where the algorithm simply didn't went, but the Google native algorithm didn't went that route. So now we can go bypass the system and acquire clicks that we normally couldn't because the whole account was optimized on this finite signature. Now we can, but you need to look in different directions. Just following the native pixel, for that matter, it just doesn't bring you those out of the box results.
Yeah.
And yeah, this one, long-term
So
measurement.
we talk about this one the whole night for me and the entire evening for you.
Well, you can definitely run with it. Start it off.
The this one was also like initially when I remember when I started my first meta ad, it was all about leads. Like Facebook was optimizing for form fill, lead forms, and we used to run these ads on Facebook. And then I did my transition into Google, and then Google was also the same thing. Lead gen, just get the page view if it's e-com, product page view, and it's been changing a lot. Then we did page view to add to cart optimizations were also there like 6-7 years ago, if you remember. And then from add to cart, initiate checkout, and you would have these steps, and then further went up and up and up, and then the people started doing purchase. Beyond purchase, I've not seen many people. There are like obviously we do it. go offline conversion tracking route, right? Because we
Hmm.
understand the complexity of all the cross platform ecosystem, and also business metrics between new and returning, and what is more profitable and not. Customer journeys, a starting point could take up to 30 to 90 days for an actual conversion to happen from the first impression. Google is sort of moving in that direction of it takes that holistic approach, but in its own ecosystem. That's where it wants you to feed that data back into Google Ads for like customer list, returning customers, engaging customers, email list, and all of that. So we started from like the search brand search lift. It measures demand gen ads. It's basically for the brand lift. You do outbound, YouTube, all of that, get people to aware of things. That's short term. And then midterm is basically you predict, okay, I showed my ad, a YouTube ad, and after 3 impressions, this person is more likely to buy from me than the other person, because it has these data points aligning with the data I had from the previous customers that I acquired. So that's a midterm. It's been predictive about the future value of that person engaging with you. And then the total business impact is basically like, is it a new returning, and how much ROI can I get out of that? This is the most important part, the total business impact, and that's where Google wants you. It has been there for a very long time, that Google's always been asking for data from your CRM and give as much of data as possible. It is even more important now, because if you want to continuously have these AI models work for you, you need to put roadblocks and also give the data that it needs for it. For example, if you want to go after new customers, then you need to provide like lookalike audiences to your demand gen campaign with the customers that you've already had, which helps them to start their journey from brand search to predictive future value, and have that cycle going on for total business impact. What do you think, Vincent?
Yeah, I mean, this shows exactly what everybody wants, right? So we have the Google brand search lift. They also have a regular search lift when you do anything on YouTube. That is all pretty much short term. But if you can figure out, for example, and you want to do a test, like, okay, what have I put in budget? What are the effects long term on my business? Because if you can model that, then you can replicate that model, and that means then, okay, we did it again. We can push, if we push this amount of money YouTube here with this type of creatives, then this is the result that we're going to get. And a lot of people are searching for that. I know personally, a lot of 8-figure brands are searching for the answer. They want to test something. But there also needs some sort of, well, not guarantees, because nothing's guaranteed, but you want to have some sort of like a model. And I think this exactly shows where it's going to, right? If you can pinpoint the impact of the short term to midterm to long term, then you know exactly how you need to put your money and where you put that money to minimize the wasted ad spend. And again, that doesn't mean that we trust one platform on their own bubblish ecosystem, because there's more about it. This is how you look at other people, agencies, and experts to really figure this out. And this is where the total business impact, all it drives is you need your MMM, you need your media mix modeling completed. If you understand that, then everything becomes much more simple, and you can scale, and you can run your tests on the side. But that's really what's going to be key for this part.
Yeah.
And so, a big quote: "If the AI is driving the car, your job is no longer to turn the steering wheel." That was, that was the last couple of years. Your job is now to build the map and then fuel the engine. And that's it, right? You're building the map. Like, where do we decide to go? You pilot that, and you fuel the engine. Make sure it keeps running with the data that you put in, because the data is the fuel here. And you decide the whole map. That means you can build on top of this until the eternity. And then finally, we have this. which basically sums up everything that we talked about. So that's really cool.
That
Data.
code reminds me of Tesla. Like there was this one content piece that I had seen. You just sit and you relax. You tell your AI that, okay, AI, take me to a place where I've never been, and it takes you to the gym.
It takes you to the gym.
So AI knows you better than you think.
Yeah.
You just give the directions and let it surprise you.
That is so cool. Also, would be fun if the AI suddenly got humor and really start pulling those things off. It's like, oh, okay, I'll take it literal. You've never been here. Might be good for you. Yeah. No, yeah. So data and context means the growth, right? We have an input and then we have the context of the input. If anybody listening, watching this, anybody probably have worked with Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini. The context matters, right? You have context first thinking, okay, I want this, but I need to give you all the side information because otherwise you can go like this, but I want you to go like that direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think nobody will ever fight the algorithm for control, but you need to create that map. So for example, native pixels from Google works, but we use other stuff behind it. We don't fight the algorithm. We go search for alternatives to add on top of it. And we're going to engineer our own outcomes. We're going to engineer profitability because we cannot rely on the ad platform to do that for us because we know it's in isolation and it simply lies to us. All the platforms do. And so, yeah, the only way to win in the age of AI is with AI. I agree. You leverage it, but you still have to validate, check, and make sure that the context is accurate. Otherwise, you can also see the scenario where if you let it run freely, how quickly it can destroy things, right?
Because it doesn't have like a unique context for your business goal. Every business is different. Like one of our clients, if you know if you can refer to, if you can recall, they have 80% of returning people, right? And that's a different business goal altogether. And then there is another business that only has 10% of returning customers. So if you don't give a unique context, then it will just do what it is built to do. Exactly. So it's just doing what it's supposed to do. It's you who has to give more and more context. Yeah. And when you do that, it helps you.
Otherwise, the assistant. The human mind is still the one who can think. If you did your risk assessment, okay, what do we need to pay attention to? What are all the metrics and equations and all the data we need to direct it into the right position? That's going to be the most key for this part. Yeah. So yeah, overall, I think, interesting announcement and everything. There was a couple of things that are really like the UCP, the Universal Card Protocol, is going to be interesting to watch. But again, we've been in this game for many, many years, over a decade. And so healthy skepticism is also a good thing here, and see how things play out. If you're looking for experts who can help you watch out for all the wasted ad spend in between, and if you want somebody that can help you become more profitable, DM us, send us a comment, write something below this, and we'll definitely hit you up. We're going to have a chat, what your business is currently struggling with, what your goals are, and what you need to get to that goal. Will help you craft down that roadmap. So if that's you, you're doing 8 figures a year and you're a DTC brand operator, or you're a large catalog advertiser with thousands of SKUs, write a comment below and we'll reach out. I think that was it for this week. I think we're at the end of this.
Yes.
We're going to go get some weekend. Rachna, I want to thank you once more for being here today. And everybody, I'll see you next week.
See you guys. See you, Vincent.